and welcome to another episode of I Rise with Sal. Today on my show, we have Sandhya Krishnan with us, and we'll be unpacking the world of modern day dating and relationships. Do believe in the idea of a soulmate and there's one person for everyone, or you can have multiple sort of like people who have similar interests and who sort of get you, and there are many people out there for you?
I certainly hope that that we must have many soulmates in our life, and I don't mean just many romantic partners, right? So just again to give you an example, there's a client that I have. So she said that, look, before I got married, my universe, my clan was five women. There were these five people who were my go-to, and my drinking buddy, my this, that, whatever.
Yes.
Now I have a husband, and I'm like, so your husband is now going to fulfill the role of all of these five people, and this one guy who didn't know you from the time you were 2 years old has now got to figure all these things out about you. So the idea that that one person. So two aspects to it. One is that yes, there is this one person that we would like, with whom we are able to be vulnerable, our most vulnerable selves, our most intimate selves. But Saloni, I'll argue that that person may be your best friend from childhood. Your romantic or your social partner may be a person with whom you'll share like a deep vision perhaps. But if you want to talk about, I don't know. I mean, lipstick colors and stuff. I
Mm.
hope for you that you will have a you'll have a village of soulmates. Each person plays a different purpose in your life and brings certain value to your life, right? And your partner may not even be like the most intimate or the most vulnerable, but he may be like the best foil, or he may be the one that gives you the wings for you to fly. So my question is, if he's giving you that, are you also going to say, why can't you discuss nail polish color with me? And a lot of the problems literally just boil down to that. Or like, why don't you bring me flowers more often? It's like, he's not a flower guy, but he gives you wings. I mean,
Yeah.
pick, and like I said, every choice has a consequence. And look at who you're dating. If you wanted a flower guy, please marry a flower seller, and I
Yeah.
hope you'll be very happy with that.
Yes. Yes, I totally agree with you on that. I think sometimes we put too much pressure on the partner, just expecting that they would do something when like they didn't even know that they were supposed to do it, and then we'd be upset about it. So it's like a never-ending cycle.
What is a soulmate but like identification, right? I
Yes.
mean, so I'll say that if you can see your partner for who he is, and true, in fact, Rumi, the Sufi mystic, has got a beautiful saying that if you have found even one person that you can love by, oh my god, I don't remember the quote exactly, but the idea being that if you can truly see one person without any filters of your own expectations, then you have found God. So is that your soulmate? Like, I truly see you, and I see you as beautifully you, not what you can do for me, not all the, not all the appropriateness that you have for me, not that you fulfill all my expectations. I truly see you, and I see your beauty, and I see your glory. I have seen God.
Yeah.
And what could be a better definition of a soulmate than that then?
That's so beautifully put. I think you answer the next question of what are some of the things that we should be looking for in a wholesome, strong relationship. And I think it's exactly that. It's just acceptance of the other person and complete love and sort of just being there for the other person as a supportive system.
I think so, but on a very practical note, I will say that like I said, when you do your self-analysis, like for example, if you've grown up in a very volatile home, right, and you've done the work on yourself, you've sort of gotten to a place where you found your equanimity. Now, one of the sort of psychological habits that we have is that we're so used to the drama that we sometimes seek out that drama in our life as well, and then you're helplessly trapped in these cycles of volatility your whole life, until one day you just want to like exit or quit. That we call it games in psychology, right? So I'll say that if you've recognized that, hey, listen, I've had so much volatility, and I've just learned to realize that I value stability, and this is my hard won calmness, then I will invite you to say that, look, one of the parameters you could use when you find a partner is this a person who brings calm into your life? Or do you want like that big bad, you want that bad boy and, sort of the quintessential bad boy who's going to, take you off on his big bike, but also you don't know what he's doing behind your back, and he keeps you second guessing or gaslighting you. So, know who you are and what it will take for, if you kind of have a picture of where you want to go in your life to start with, and nobody's going to have an exact plan, right? But just what's important to you, what is the value that you feel your life has, then you'll kind of know who can walk that path with you. And he might have his own passions by all means, but he can be that foil to you. He can be the calm that you come home to, and he's like your support, and you can be something else for him. You may not be his support, but you may be what he needs. And what could be a more beautiful match than that? It's not like you're completing each other. Again, I'll quote Khalil Gibran, another poet mystic. He has a beautiful poem on marriage, and I'm so sorry, I'll qualify that I'm misquoting both these people, and I'm probably mangling the quotes as well, but I'll convey the idea, I hope, accurately, which is that he says that, look, in marriage, you're not like two souls who are going to join and become one. That's like you're 50% a human, and with another 50%, you have good luck with getting to be 100% human. He says you should think of both of yourself as individual. You're both beautiful trees. Don't stand so close that you crowd each other and overshadow each other, and then one of you can't grow. He says you're two beautiful trees, and both of you, like a coconut tree must produce coconuts, a mango tree must produce mangoes, right? So allow each other to flower and bloom and be each other's full potential, and that's what a good partner can do for you.
Yes, totally agree with that. I think that's what, going into my last question, I think you pretty much answered that. What advice would you be giving, Sandhya, to 20-year-olds and 30-year-olds who are looking to find their right partner, who are looking to find the right relationship? What advice would you be giving them? Because I know sometimes it can be quite daunting, it can be quite overwhelming, and they don't really know how to go about it.
Yeah. I'll say first, find yourself. And sometimes that finding yourself could be through relationships as well. With every interaction that you have with another human being, with every moment that you sit in silence with yourself, like just with a coffee, take that moment, where we have so much distraction all around us that we don't really spend any time with ourselves. And I can't tell you, when I so much of the mindfulness movement is really being fully present in the moment, right? And when I say, listen, you're present for your work, you're present for your friends, you're present for the causes that you undertake, but are you present for yourself? And I just say, spend 3 minutes with your coffee in the morning doing, just having a date with yourself, and you'll get to know what makes you happy, what who you really are and what you need to thrive. So once you've kind of like gotten and start to like yourself, because sometimes we don't like ourselves, but we expect that, through validation from another, we can possibly become lovable, right? And that is a recipe for disaster, almost, because at the very best it will create dependence, right? That I'm lovable and I'm acceptable as long as I have your love. But that's like I have like a gas hose constantly. I mean, like I have to take the gas station with me everywhere for constant refueling, right? It's dependence. It's like I need that attachment in my life, and it's worked in the past. A lot of very successful marriages and relationships are dependent or codependent. But again, life is changing now. We don't have all of these certainties that our parents' generation had, and the short lifespan to not test these certainties too often or too much, right? So today's life is volatile. So it's kind of like your life is your individual journey. And when you realize what's really important for you, you'll look for the people whose values resonate with you. And I think if we drop some of the more fallacious expectations of that this is the package that the person needs to come with, in terms of externalities and also the expectation of perfection, right? I get really worried sometimes when I see the amount that people invest into like the perfect wedding photography or the perfect wedding, and I'm like, what? Why don't we focus a little bit on the marriage that has to follow as well? I mean, you hear stories of bridezillas and stuff like that, and I'm like, who's the person that is showing up for that relationship, please take a look. Do you ever stop to look at who are you that's showing up for that relationship as well?
Mm.
And then to constantly evaluate and not take for granted, just say that, listen, every day that I show up as an attractive version of myself, I put a deposit into that relationship. And I don't mean like physically attractive, right? Like I show love, I show regard for my partner, and I'm putting these little deposits, but I do them without the expectation that I should get it back. But not putting those deposits almost guarantees that somewhere that bank is going to run dry, right? Or just one person is putting it in all the time, and you're like, man, I mean, this is exhausting to have to do, right? This is too much work. So you do what you can do, and at some point, please evaluate, stop every once in a while and say, listen, are you still going my way, or is it just time for us to part ways?
Yeah, I fully agree with that, because I think that when you are in your early 20s versus in your late 20s, you have changed so much in yourself. So it's important to sort of take it slow, not rushing into anything, and also not looking for validation. I think even Oprah, what she had said, I watched a lot of Oprah videos, and she had mentioned that in her 25 seasons, all of the seasons, there was one common theme, and it was everyone was seeking validation in some aspect or the other. So I think it's just about like giving, not expecting back, and not seeking validation from somebody else, and just being with yourself, as you mentioned, just being in the moment and present. And those are all the things that you need to be happy, and then finding the right partner as well along with that comes as part of the journey.
I'll add one other thing, which is that sort of by the time our sense of self is formed, one of the other things that we learn, or we need to teach ourselves to do, is also to ask. And when we ask, sometimes we're too afraid to ask for what we want or what we need in a relationship, right? But we can ask in a way that's without expectation. We can ask, expressing our need, not as our entitlement. And we need to be prepared to hear that ask may not be met as well, that we're okay. We're just able to evaluate, okay, listen, this person is incapable of giving me what I'm asking for. I need that for my growth, or for me to serve. Then you know what? Then I can see the signs here that this is not the person who. But that comes from the feeling that I'm just fine by myself, and that my life's path is my own. It always comes down to that, Saloni. I believe, at least.
Certainly, I think our audience would have learned a lot from all your responses. I think it was very, very insightful. Thank you so much. I will include the link to Sandhya, how to contact her, below. So please reach out to her if you have any questions or would like any sort of advice and help. I'm sure she'd be able to sort of guide you on that right path and journey. Thank you so much again for joining us, and have an amazing day.
Thank you so much. It's been a pleasure.